just gonna wait to see if anyone joins us tonight. I picked 8 p.m. just in case we wanted to grab any West Coast people getting out of work, in addition to East Coast and middle of the country, as well as maybe some international people. And I see someone joined. Welcome. Just wait a couple more minutes. So I will do a quick show and tell because I'm very excited about my earrings. I don't know if you guys can see that they're snowflakes. I actually got it. I got these at like 10,000 Villages, I think. So they were made, I can't remember what country they're made in, but I love supporting those causes. I'm really trying to stay as much as I can away from Amazon. Awesome. Thanks so much for, I've seen another person that joined, and here's my dog that's joining us as well for our live. This is Scotty Wigglebottoms. So he's going to add to the relaxed tone of this video. And yeah, so I'm excited about my earrings. They are representing the snow that we've had recently here that I've been so happy about. I love falling snow. And if you saw my, actually I believe it was a reel that I just posted on my feed of the falling snow, and it's just so calming and relaxing. And it really helps clear the noise of the world, social media, but especially our thoughts. And I don't know if you've been following me lately, but I didn't get very good news about my recent transfer. Unfortunately, we lost the baby. And so I find myself really getting stuck mired in my thoughts, and it really brings me down. And so I was inspired today by one of my private clients that I'm helping. And she is struggling because of lots of family dynamics that are now coming more into play than in the past, especially now that there's a dementia diagnosis for her parent. And I started to talk about mindfulness and mindfulness-based stress reduction. Those are two strategies that I use, really big strategies I use for my one-on-one clients. And I was inspired to share with you guys what that session could look like. So excuse me. So that's why I'm here tonight. And I wanted to talk to you guys about how to start to heal the rifts in your relationships, right? Whether that's, I hear a lot from caregiving spouses or primary caregivers, the people that are living with the person with dementia 24/7 basically, that there is some anger, some resentment that, the siblings aren't helping or the secondary caregivers refuse to help. So there's a lot of hard feelings there. I know also daughters struggle with being frustrated with the caregiving parent, whether they're not ready to accept the dementia diagnosis. All of that stuff comes into play with the dementia diagnosis. And at times, especially when it's early stage dementia, that can be the thing, these family dynamics can be the thing that cause the most suffering. So that being said, with mindfulness and mindfulness-based stress reduction, they're essentially based on this idea of living in the present, being open to the present moment. So not being stuck in the regrets of the past or in the baggage or what's happened in the past with our siblings, with our parents, with anyone. And also not being caught up about what's going to happen in the future. Normally we're feeling really anxious about what's going to happen in the future. And we sort of think about these what if scenarios, right? And with dementia, anything is possible. I mean, it's essentially, it's a terminal illness, right? So we're constantly worrying about that. And so what I find that the strength of mindfulness is reminding us to be present in this moment, because this is the moment that we're really experiencing, right? And our thoughts, and it's really surprising how strong our thoughts are. They can carry us into the past, they can carry us into the future. But the problem with being carried into the past and into the future is that we can't be empowered when we are stuck in those two places, right? But in the present, we can actually make decisions to affect our consequences or our results or, our interactions, right? So I think the main thing about mindfulness that I found so helpful in my journey, whether it's my dementia journey and right now, my trying to get pregnant journey, is that it really reminds me of the joy in the present and also the ability to be empowered in the present. And the fact that my suffering can be transformed through my thoughts. So, the first step of healing the rifts in your relationships, especially the really painful ones, is recognizing the suffering in you, right? And so when I talk about suffering, suffering can include anything. It can be stress, it can be anxiety, it can be sadness, it can be anger. That's all really under the umbrella of suffering when it comes to mindfulness. And so it's recognizing the suffering in you and recognizing what is causing that suffering, right? Is it something in the past that happened with, your sibling or your parent that you just continue to think about? Usually that's the case, right? We just kind of get stuck in this thought loop. And so it's really important to sort of recognize what are the thoughts that you're having that are causing the most pain, right? So recognizing that. And then the second step is recognizing the suffering in the person that you're having the conflict with. And this can be so hard because we have so much anger, and we feel that we take it so personally because it's hard not to, right? We take it personally if the person is, treats us badly or doesn't appreciate us, right? We take that really personally. But the mindfulness perspective of someone else's suffering is that they are suffering so much that it overflows into all of their relationships, right? And when I was going through this with, conflicts that I was having, I realized that that was true. I sort of knew, in one hand that it wasn't about me, right? And part of me was like, well, then why are they projecting this on me? This is not mine to hold, right? And so noticing that I would be angry or I would avoid, that confrontation or any interaction with that person, right? But that wasn't helping. It wasn't helping at all. And so, so recognizing the suffering in yourself, recognizing the suffering in the other person, that it's really not about you. It's about them suffering, and it's overflowing into all of their relationships, that they're struggling, right? They're like drowning, and they don't have the ability to really recognize the suffering that they're causing other people, right? So then the third thing is noticing that this is a cycle, right? I'm sure I'm going to not get this quote right, but that insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, right? And it's kind of what we do when we're interacting with these people that we have a big rift with, who we have a conflict with, right? We're just like, why aren't they acting the way that, respectfully, right? Why aren't they acting differently? Well, it's because you guys are continuing the same pattern over and over again, right? And no one's changing, so the result's not going to change. So what you want to do is break this cycle, break this pattern. And what we call it in mindfulness is samsara. So it's like this really harmful pattern, this cycle of this interaction of, you react angrily and they react angrily, or they react angrily and you avoid the conflict, right? And so there is a way to set boundaries for your own well-being and do it compassionately, right? Because compassion is really, that's how you break the cycle. It's a combination of understanding where that other person is coming from, why they may be suffering, right? And then also finding that compassion for them and seeing that they are trying to cope with their circumstances, whatever those are, and they are doing the best they can, just like you're doing the best you can. It's just, you may have more coping tools or techniques than they do, right? So that's the third step, is breaking that cycle. And then the fourth thing is, again, kind of going back to your thoughts. Your thoughts determine your feelings, which determine your behavior, which determine the results or the consequences of your behavior, right? So we know that this other person is likely not going to change, right? They don't know about mindfulness, they don't know about the thought loops, but you do. And so the next time you find yourself thinking about this person, notice where your thoughts go. Notice if this is a thought that you've had before about this person. Because we tend to, of course, because there's no one to question it, right, or have a different perspective, we believe what we think. Because if you think about it, right, I'm, turning 38, and I know some of you are in your 40s or 50s or 60s. You've been spending 60 years having this same thought. It's automatic, one. And second, it's true, right? It's true because you've reinforced that for yourself. But is it really true? Is it really true to anyone who is objective and doesn't have that history with that person? Right? Is it true, or is it true because it's based on your perspective and it's hurt you so much, right? So that's why it can be really helpful to talk to someone, talk to a guide through this stuff, because not only because I've been there and I can relate to it, especially on the dementia journey, but also because it's hard to change our thought patterns when we've been doing this for 30, 40, 50, 60 years, right? So what I would say is really trying to shift your thoughts to focus on the good things about this person. And also, so I just saw someone did 100%, thank you, I agree. So really trying to shift your thoughts and focus on the good things, right? For me, it's really, it resonates a lot with me, this whole idea, is because I tend to be a very optimistic person, and I believe that everyone has the seeds of compassion in them, right? And so if you think about it in this way, that everyone has the potential to be compassionate, everyone has the potential to be mindful, you can water the seeds of compassion in them when you believe that they have the potential for that compassion, right? Because at this point, I don't think they believe they have the potential for the compassion, because they're just trying to survive. They're drowning, right? Which is why their suffering is overflowing on everyone else, right? But if you believe in their compassion, and you can do this without even talking with them, you can do this on your own in your own practice. But anytime you notice that you're thinking something about this person, try to observe if it's something negative that causes you stress, anxiety, pain, if it feels like a familiar pain, especially the ones that really trigger you. That's how you know that that's the one you've been going over and over in your head and don't realize, right, for years. And, or you can notice that you're seeing something positive in them, or you're focusing on something positive in them. And then, is that thought creating stress, or is that thought creating joy? And if it's creating stress, can you then shift your focus on something that this person is doing right? And it doesn't have to be now, it can be from the past, right? Because it's the same person. Everyone has these seeds. Everyone has these seeds of compassion. They have the seeds of anger. They have the seeds of sadness. But what we can choose to do is decide which seeds we want to water in ourselves and in that other person, right? And I have done this in my life. I mean, ever since I started practicing mindfulness, it has literally transformed every single relationship in my life. It's just this shift of going from negative to positive. And it's funny how we just let these thoughts come in, and our thoughts are us, right? Like, this is me, this is what I think, it can't change. No, we are not our thoughts. And that's the biggest thing that mindfulness can teach us. And with that comes empowerment. With that comes joy. With that comes freedom, right? Because when we change our thoughts, our feelings change, right? If we have a positive thought, how can we feel angry or sad, right? We feel happy, we feel joyous, we feel hopeful for this other person. And you will notice that when your thoughts change and your feelings change, your behavior is going to change. Whether that's when you think about them yourselves or when you interact with them. And they'll pick up on that. They will pick up on the fact that this pattern, this cycle of suffering for both of you, something has changed, right? There's more peace. There's more compassion. And so that's what I wanted to share with you today. So next time you find yourself thinking about this person that's causing you suffering, recognize how you're feeling. Try to open yourself up to their perspective and that they're suffering and that they're doing the best they can with all of the tools they have. Try to break that cycle by noticing your thought, focusing on the good things about that person and seeing their potential for compassion and mindfulness. And then notice how your feelings, your behaviors change. And as a result of your behavior changing, the results are going to be different. And they're going to be much more positive for both of you. So that's just a little preview of what I would talk with my client one-on-one about. And we would work on some exercises of what those thoughts are, what the feelings are, what the behaviors are, what we want to shift them to. We would talk about how the other person that's struggling, what could be some other factors that are in their life, whether it's sort of, innate qualities, what are the seeds that are already present. Also, how to water the seeds in yourself and also in that other person. Giving some examples from my experience. So this is just a little preview, but that's kind of what we would do in a full session. And I think that's everything I wanted to share with you today. So thank you all for tuning in. And yes, so someone said, and it restarts every time we wake. Exactly, right? Our thoughts are constant. And that's why I love my mindfulness and meditation practice, because it just gives us a break from, the ongoing thoughts that we have, right? And just kind of bringing us back into the present. And understanding neurocognitive also said stress makes everything worse for us. Good point. It does. And who needs more stress on the dementia journey, right? We need peace. And in order to have this peace, we can be peace, right? So Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me live. And if you're joining later, I would love to hear from you if this is resonating with you, if you were interested in talking more about this or hearing more about what it would look like to work one-on-one with me. Definitely send me a DM. And if you have any questions or you would just like to say that this video resonated with you, please comment below. I'd love to hear from you. And that is everything. All right. Thank you guys so much. I hope you have a lovely evening.